Buckwheat is a small crop in Manitoba. It's been grown in Manitoba for many years. Currently, it's ranging in the last few years. It's been 5,000 to 10,000 acres annually that's grown in Manitoba. The main market for this crop has been Japan and the United States. Traditionally in Japan, what they've done with this crop, with the grain, I should say, is to convert it into flour and make noodles, which in Japan they call it soba noodle. And I have a plant here in my hands, and we can see here again. This plant is a broadleaf plant, obviously. It's frost sensitive at all stages, so it usually is not planted till beginning of June, later part of May, depending on in the area of the province. And and it's the varieties that we grow in Manitoba now are large seeded buckwheat. It used to be a small seeded buckwheat that would mature in about 70 to 80 days. Currently, those varieties take probably a good 90 to 100 days to mature. Buckwheat, one of the many attributes it has, it is a gluten-free grain once it's harvested, and that's one of its benefits. Another one is its high quality protein. I think it's the highest of plant quality protein there is available. And also it has a low glycemic index, and so that's beneficial for people that might have issues with diabetes or of type 2 particularly. So that's some of the attributes, and those are in demand right now in North American markets. And so hopefully that, again, this market can grow here in Manitoba. It's a crop that many growers can grow. They can use typical equipment that they use to farm other grains, so that's an easy one to include in a rotation. Some of the issues with these crops traditionally have been weed control. Currently, there's really only one herbicide registered for the control of grassy weeds and buckwheat, so broadleaf weeds can be an issue. Although, as we can see behind here on this particular plot, there's been no broadleaf herbicide applied, and yet the broadleaf weeds have been really well controlled because the crop is very competitive. It's planted into warm soils early June, grows very rapidly, and can compete actually very effectively against weeds. But hopefully that will change. The Buckwheat Growers Association is looking at hopefully to get some broadleaf herbicides registered in the future. Some of the other issues with the crop see here today, because of the warm conditions we've had this summer, the dry conditions and so on, although this particular plot looks pretty good in terms of growth, but we see here grasshoppers are an issue, and grasshoppers really love buckwheat, especially when other crops around in the area might be maturing and not be as attractive to feed on. Buckwheat will be one of the ones that they will be moving in to attack, and we can see here they've been notching at the leaves on this particular plant here, so that's something to be watching for. So this project here, this is unique. It's a bit of this is a nutrient uptake for buckwheat where we want to measure the uptake at different stages of the plant for macro and micronutrients. And so what we're doing here, we've got a replicated trial, randomized. And so with no limitation in terms of nutrients, moisture, not irrigated obviously, but again, good growth here as we can see behind. So what we're trying to do is measure the biomass and the nitrogen, phosphate, potassium, sulfur, and some micronutrients at different stages to see how the plant is taking up nutrients during its growth right through to harvest. So we'll be doing this right until the plant is ripe and mature. And we'll be able to determine where the nitrogen is accumulated and when during the development of the plant and so on. So this is unique. This is a protocol that we've borrowed from other crops that have been done on cereals and corn. So we've adapted it here on buckwheat. And again, this is unique in the world. It's not, I don't think it's been done yet. So this is really unique work here being done here at the Diversification Center. This project here is a cooperation, again, led by the Manitoba Buckwheat Growers Association. Sponsored by the Manitoba Agriculture and Resource Development, and also here the CMCDC here at Carberry. So I want to thank everyone involved, and again, we look forward to see the results of this work.